Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the we're all good. I would like to call to order the Thursday, March 23rd meeting of the Human Services Committee. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Gilchrist, for any remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Just happy to be here and hope everyone's having a great day.
Thank you, Representative Case.
Good morning. Let's get going.
Senator Seminar.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad I am not echoing. And hello and good day. And I hope everybody's day started off well.
Okay, we have a short but important agenda before us. First up on the agenda is item number 1, House Bill 6626, an act concerning long-term care. I'll entertain a motion to JFS this bill to the Appropriations Committee.
So moved, Rep. Hughes.
A motion made by Representative Hughes, seconded by Representative Santiago. Is there any discussion? Yes, Representative Gilchrist.
Thank you, Senator. So the PACE program that this bill is referring to would be an optional program. It's for folks who are both dual Medicare and Medicaid eligible. And it's an integrated approach to care. It's been done in many other states. And so I think it is a great opportunity for Connecticut to move in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any discussion? Seeing not, the clerk will please call the roll.
Item number 1 on the agenda, HB 6626, an act concerning long-term care. Motion to JFS to approps, LCO number 5310. Representative Gilchrist. Yes. Senator Lesser. Yes. Senator Seminara.
Yes.
Representative Case.
Yes.
Senator Gaston.
Yes.
Representative Dathan. Senator Marr.
Senator Marr votes yes.
Representative Butler. Representative Cook. Representative Exum. Representative Exum. Come back to her. Representative Fortier.
Representative Fortier votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Representative Johnson. Representative Kitt.
Representative Kitt votes yes.
Representative Leeper. Representative Santiago.
Yes.
Representative Buckby.
Yes.
Representative Ferraro.
Yes.
Representative Mastro Francesco.
Representative Mastro Francesco votes yes.
Representative Pizzuto.
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Paletta.
Rep. Paletta votes yes.
Representative Butler.
Representative Butler votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Cook. Representative Exum.
Representative Exum votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Johnson. Representative Leeper. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, we will be holding the votes open and we will announce the time in a few minutes. Next on the agenda is item number 2, House Bill number 6630, an act increasing Husky C asset and income limits. I'll entertain a motion to JF to approps.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Senator Gaston, seconded by Representative Hughes. I'll just say by way of introduction, this bill increases Husky C asset limits from $1,600 to $10,000 for unmarried individuals, from $2,400 to $15,000 for married couples, and it also increases the income limits from 143% of FPL to 180% of FPL, and allows waiver approval for a state plan amendment as well. And I would say that there is some similar language in House Bill 5001, which we JF'd on Tuesday. I think our intent is to have a conversation going forward with our colleagues on the Appropriations Committee about how much we can do to support individuals with disabilities in Connecticut on these figures that have been frozen for way too long. And many of us heard from advocates within that community urging us to do more. And this bill is a starting point on doing that. Is there any discussion? Yes, Representative Dathan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And just to echo your comments, I agree. We heard from a lot of advocates here how important this is that we do this. I mean, looking at the impact of inflation and on our economy, and the higher amount of savings might be necessary to help people be able to thrive. By increasing these limits, we're expanding our access to qualify for individuals who are previously ineligible because exceeding the current asset limits or income limits. And just for folks to note at home, Husky C limits are the lowest of all the Husky programs. So we want to make sure that we allow people to maintain eligibility while also having a cushion for emergencies and things like around security deposits and other things. And I know that there has been a lot of concern about increasing asset limits could potentially harm people who are receiving or applying for other benefit programs that have much lower asset limits, including the federal SSI and SSDI. But this is not of concern if we allow individuals to spend down for eligibility purposes, which is the Section 1 in the bill. So we want to carry on the conversation, as the good senator mentioned, about ensuring that we have different vehicles to do this. And I hope that folks know that we are committed to continuing these conversations. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Representative Dathan. Your points are well taken. I would also just note, as by way of explanation, that the asset and income limits in this bill would marry that program with the MedConnect program. That's the Medicaid buy-in for working persons with disabilities that we've also been taking a very close look at. Representative Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to echo the sentiments of Representative Dathan. And, you know, we all look at this, and the 1,600 has been a number that we've all discussed for years. And being somebody who had a brother who was at that level, and believe it or not, we still had to downspend every month for him, and moving it up, that downspend would be even more, because he has to, being of the disability and getting the SSI, the SSD, it all depends on the Social Security number and what it's related to, of what that level is set at on the federal side. So all we want to be cautious of, and we agree, I'm going to vote on this to move it forward, is to make sure that those that we have, because if people don't understand, when you are severely disabled and you are somebody who doesn't have a voice, that spend down is very difficult to do. I mean, as far as buying furniture for your room when you live in a CTH home, buying new TVs every couple of quarters, that spend down when you're a person who isn't really mobile or isn't able to do their own stuff is very difficult to do. And we had to make sure every quarter that we were at the $1,600 asset, or my brother would have been thrown off of Title 19. So we agree with this. We want to look forward to make sure that that population isn't harmed as we do this. But keep in mind that the spend down is really, in my opinion, not in everybody's opinion, not in everybody's situation, it's kind of wasteful, because the spend down, you're throwing money out for things that you might not have needed because you are a person who doesn't need much. And that just happened to be in the situation in the life that I live with my brother, because after he became mentally disabled and physically disabled, his brain never grew after the age of 4. So he never needed new clothes. You know, we would buy him new clothes because we'd have to spend down. His body never changed. He was a 51-year-old man when he died in a 4-year-old body. He could still walk around and do everything. But we had to keep spending down money in order to make the asset and didn't worry about income levels because it was $7 a week that he was making. So with that, I think we all have that look when we want to move this forward to the floors to make sure that we don't harm that population. And that's all we've had in discussion with 5001, is to make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences for certain people. It's not very large, but there are certain that will have to have a huge spend down. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, the clerk will please call the roll.
Item number 2 on the agenda, HB 6630, an act increasing Husky asset and income limits. Motion to JF2 approves. Representative Gilchrist,
Yes.
Senator Lesser,
Yes.
Senator Seminara,
Yes.
Representative Case,
Yes.
Senator Gaston,
Yes.
Representative Dathan. Senator Mar,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Representative Butler votes yes.
Representative Cook, Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Fortier,
Representative Fortier votes yes.
Representative Hughes,
Yes.
Representative Johnson, Representative Kit,
Representative Kit votes yes.
Representative Leeper,
Representative Leeper votes yes.
Representative Santiago, Representative Buckby,
Yes.
Representative Ferraro,
Yes.
Representative Mastro Francesco,
Representative Master Francesco votes yes.
Representative Pizzuto,
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Paletta.
Paletta votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Madam Clerk. On Tuesday, Representative Gilchrist was Madam President, and now you are State Representative. We're playing fast and loose with titles in this committee. As long as we are only giving complimentary titles, I think I'm on safe ground. All right, so moving on to the next item on the agenda, item number 3, House Bill 6854. An act establishing the office of the Food Access Advocate and tax incentives for grocery stores in food deserts. I'll entertain a motion to JFS this to the floor.
So moved, Rep. Hughes.
Motion made by Representative Hughes, second by Representative Gilchrist. By way of introduction, I would just say this is the same bill that we heard in committee. It has two separate parallel concepts. One, promoting tax incentives to build grocery stores in food deserts, and the second, a proposal to create the office of Food Office Advocate. The major difference that we've seen versus the version we heard in committee is a requirement that for access to the tax incentives, that there is a labor peace requirement. Is there discussion? Representative Case.
Thank you. I was going to say Mr. Speaker, but Mr. Chair, thank you. So through you, a couple questions, because the S language does change this around a little bit. So if and I'm just going to use my situation in the northwest corner where we don't have a lot of big box stores, if a small IGA wants to come in and they are do not have a labor agreement, they will not be able to get this incentive. Is that correct?
That is correct. By the way, yes, that is correct.
So where there are major issues of food deserts in the northeast and the northwest corner, where there are small mom and pop stores that have closed, but there are other people that want to open them, unless they are like I said, labor agreement, they will not be entitled to this incentive. And I honestly, I loved the bill when it came to us in committee. And I think it's a great idea. We talked with the gentleman from Bridgeport about Fridgeport. I thought that was an awesome thing. And I think filling in and having incentives for stores to open up in those food deserts. But I think we're taking a swipe at it to limit the small mom and pops that want to open up in those rural areas that don't have the labor agreements because they would probably have 5 or 10 employees and they would be family orientated. So with that, sir, I do have an amendment that I'd like to introduce to the committee. So through you, Mr. Chair, I offer an amendment to strike section 4 proposed in substitute bill 6854, strike subsection 1 of subsection A located on lines 178 through 202, strike subsection B, lines 212 to 213, and subsection 214 through 228. And basically it is to opening it up so that anybody who wants to open a grocery store in a food desert area can do that.
I don't mean to cut
Yep.
you off, Representative. I just want to make sure we do this sort of
Go ahead.
according to Hoyle. So you've made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, so motion made by Representative Case, second by Senator Seminara. And now what I would like to do is recognize you for discussion purposes. I think that's probably the better way of doing this. Representative Case.
So the basic, when we heard this, it was to help people who can't get to a store and make sure that they could get to a grocery store that's may not have one in the area. Well, if we limit this to just ones that have a labor agreement, my gosh, we don't even have transportation in the northwest corner. We can't even get on a bus in the northwest corner. We can't get on a train in the northwest corner, let alone get to a grocery store. If somebody wants to build a grocery store, we shouldn't limit them by what group they have running them. I've nothing against, the intent of the original bill, because there are food deserts throughout our state and we have to address that. But how am I going to get a small store to have a labor agreement in the northwest corner to come build it when it's going to be a very small profit up there? But we got to build it in these small areas. And with that, sir, I move the motion forward.
Thank you, Representative. Is there, well, I will just say that I do not support the amendment. I thank the proponent for putting it forward. I would just want to make one clear thing as we're moving forward with this legislation, as with other committee priorities, we're being mindful of what's realistic and what we can get done. The amendment, as I understand it, would expand the scope of this tax credit, and that would add cost to the bill and make it harder for us to get it through the Finance Committee. And so in protecting the taxpayers of Connecticut, I think limiting the scope and making it focused on food deserts and making sure that we are doing what we can to make it right-sized will increase the chances of the Finance Committee taking it up. Is there additional discussion? Yeah, I see a couple people with their hands up online. Yeah, Representative Case.
No, and I just want to respond to that real quickly. So we want to make this affordable. And what is more affordable than a mom and pop store in a small area that wants to open up in a food desert area where there are no stores? I mean, I think that the original bill that we heard didn't have this language in it, and we were all for that. This came in S language a day or two ago. And I believe at 7:35 at night, last night or the night before. So it wasn't in the original bill. We agree with the original bill. This is going to put those two pockets, the northwest and the northeast corner, it's going to box them out. You don't have room for box stores. It's really not what the intent of this to do is to help people so they can get to a grocery store and get food to put it on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Pizzuto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just quickly to build on my good ranking member's comments. When I was running Yukon Waterbury downtown, we had a lot of elderly housing, small stores in town, and we even had a small pharmacy, CVS, that actually had no medicine, but it had coolers that had frozen food in it. And the elderly from these apartments would come down and clean out that cooler every day. One, because like Representative Case said, they couldn't get far on foot or even take a bus. They had to have it delivered, but they also had a need for that food. And the store was very small. A big box store couldn't go in there that was unionized, but the need is there. And so again, to that substitute language, if that was removed, it would fill a need without having that labor requirement on there. There's a large minority population also downtown Waterbury. And so there are many bodegas that try to fill that need as well. And so if they were unionized, we wouldn't be able to do that and give them the tax incentive. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I thank you, Representative Fortier.
Yes, I just wanted to discuss for clarification. When Representative Case asked if labor agreements were required, I just want to clarify what a labor agreement is. My understanding is that in this bill, it's a labor peace agreement, which simply says that the employer cannot interfere with employees that may want to join a union. It does not require that there be a union collective bargaining agreement in every facility. It just means if the workers want to start a union, that the employer will not fight that. And so in a mom and pop store with less than 10 employees, it might be unlikely that there would ever be any sort of movement to join or form a union. And so I'm just looking for clarification that we're looking for a labor peace agreement, which simply means no interference with unions, not collective bargaining agreements in every store.
Yes, thank you, Representative. That is I think a good point, but I will say that section so that there is language in the bill that requires that that agreement be with a labor organization, but they do not necessarily have to represent the workers at that location. Is that, I will turn it over to LCO if that, to make sure that that reading is correct.
Yes, so the substitute language defines a grocery store as a store that has entered into a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor organization. That presumes that there is a labor organization unionizing or attempting to unionize employees. Part of the definition of a labor peace agreement is that the business would permit the labor organization to have access to the employees and guarantee the labor organization the right to obtain recognition as the exclusive collective bargaining representative of the employees. So this does require that they enter a labor peace agreement.
Thank you. Is there other discussion? Senator Seminar.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, so there would need to be a labor agreement in place in order for a grocery store to open the way this is written, correct?
Is that, I'm sorry, is that directed to the,
Well,
Me-
I
okay,
think
yeah.
I'm directing it to you, but I can
Sure.
also direct
No,
it
no,
back to Marie.
no, that's fine. I'm happy to answer. So obviously, there's nothing in the bill that prevents a grocery store from opening. Grocery stores open all the time right now. In terms of accessing the tax credit in this bill, there would have to be a labor peace agreement in place for a grocery store to access the tax credit.
Okay, well, in my view, and if I understand this correctly, you're trying to solve a problem by putting up a roadblock to solve the problem, which is we want to solve the problem of food insecurity and food deserts. But now we're going to have a roadblock because the only people that can apply for is eligible for this incentive is if you're in a labor agreement.
Just being clear, the labor agreement is not a collective bargaining agreement. The labor agreement is a promise made by the employer not to interfere in a potential organizing drive by the workers. That is not the same thing as saying you must have a union. You're just saying if there is a organizing effort here, we will not interfere one way or the other. That's what the agreement would say. Is there? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't think it's written that way, or at least I'm certainly not understanding it that way. And that, from what I heard here, you have to have a labor agreement. You have to have a unionized labor agreement.
That's and I, with respect, Senator, that's not what the plain language of the bill says. What it says in terms of the definition of a labor peace agreement, and I would refer you to lines 214 to 228, which sort of goes into detail about what a labor peace agreement is. It is not a requirement that members be unionized. It is not a requirement that a collective bargaining agreement be in place. It is simply a promise not to interfere with a potential organizing drive. Is there other? Yeah.
I would like to refer this back to LCO at this point for further clarification.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so I think Senator Lesser did describe it correctly. The bill, the substitute language does require that the grocery store has entered into a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor organization. That means if there's a union attempting to unionize employees, the grocery store agrees not to interfere with that. And likewise, the union agrees not to picket, do work stoppages, etc. But that is a prerequisite for obtaining the tax abatement, that the business would enter into a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor organization. Now, if there's no bona fide labor organization trying to unionize the workers, the grocery store can't enter into such an agreement. But the way this is written, that's correct. They have to enter such an agreement. So.
Thank you. Representative Buckby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the acknowledgement. So we're trying to solve a problem here, right? We're trying to find a way to make sure that people can get the food. The intent, I think, of the bill is for everyone to have access to assistance to be able to build that and have an incentive to build that. Now, I can't speak on behalf of other communities. I don't know the greater Middletown area as well as you do, but I do know the best town in the USA, New Milford, but always drop that. But north of us, into even to the side of us in Sherman and Kent and these small towns, it's the small mom and pops that are making that happen and keeping a lot of people employed and keeping a lot of people fed. I think as you get further into this, as Representative Case mentioned, the northwest corner, it's tougher and tougher, right? We're spread out. You look at my town, for example, is 61 plus square miles. It's a vast area of just one town. All these towns are old, small farming communities. So the question of how far do you have to drive to get to a large supermarket becomes a big issue, especially through the winter months too. And again, concerned for the elderly to be able to get to them. You might not be able to get a delivery service up in your area. You might have to count on someone who can go to the grocery store for you. That's someone hired specifically. So the closer it is, the better it is. I think the concept of what we're trying to do here is fantastic. Let's incentivize to build and to do. I think this is something that really could have worked well with a commerce as well, to help them to put this forward, and DECD to help get the word out, to help build new supermarkets and even small mom and pop grocery stores. I think it should work collectively. So I think by that piece of it and what Representative Case has put forward, that by being more inclusive, I think we have a better chance of doing what's best for people. And as the good senator just mentioned too, about the road, I think we're building, this bill provides a super highway, right, for people to get to food. And then there's immediately a roadblock as to who's going to be able to get around that, and who can't. So I'm going to call on the entire committee to actually think this through for a second, to the long-term effects of what we're really trying to do and who we're really trying to help and how we can do that. And if we're going to incentivize tax dollars and someone wants to take a chance in some of these smaller communities to build that, we should do everything we can to help that. You know, we talk about picking winners and losers, and I don't want to get into a whole political discussion. I think this is this should not be in any way political. This is simply trying to help people have access to food who need access to food. So I'm gonna call on the humanity piece of this to say, how many people are really going to take advantage of this? How many can take advantage of this? Let's open that door. Let's let more people have that opportunity if they want to step forward. So I think it's a great amendment, and I would ask that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle really consider what this will do and to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Farrar.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to align myself with the comments of my colleagues. I did have one question.
you mentioned that the bill would prevent an employer from interfering with the implementation of a union. My question would be, how do you define interference?
Thank you for the question. And by the way, that's only one part of the agreement. The other part is the union agrees not to picket, engage in work stoppage, boycott, or other economic interference with the business. But the business owner agrees to maintain a neutral posture with respect to efforts of any participating labor organization, permit the labor organization to have access to the employees, and guarantee the labor organization the right to obtain recognition as the exclusive bargaining representative of the employees if they demonstrate that a majority of the workers have shown their preference by signing an authorization card.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a great answer. And to just flush it out a little bit more, if I was an employer and the union was attempting to come into my store, would I be permitted to circulate a flyer that would indicate the management's position?
Well, I think the agreement would probably not be allowed. So first off, a labor peace agreement would be negotiated between the grocery store and the labor organization. So I think, you know, each one is going to be presumably a little bit different. But my understanding is that if they have a neutral posture, then they don't have a position one way or the other on unionization. I think that would be the decision they would leave to the employees.
Okay, and so in general, I think when we get to areas like this where the bill will benefit a great portion of the population who are in need of supplying or acquiring the necessary food for survival, and as my colleagues have indicated, in such areas and remote areas and food desert areas. I think this committee agrees 100% on doing that and providing it for as many people as we can by giving the opportunities to as many stores that we can. So it appears that this bill could pass unanimously and with full support on both sides of the aisle, if we could just address the labor agreement that's in the bill. So I would ask that the committee members think on this and think of this amendment as a friendly amendment, and see what you can do about let's working together to do what's good for Connecticut. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative. Any other discussion from members of the committee? Seeing none. Oops. I would ask that the clerk will please call the roll on the amendment, and that when the clerk does, that the vote be taken by roll.
Item number 3 on the agenda, HB number 6854.
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry. That it's on the
Yep,
amendment.
I was
Yeah.
getting there. The amendment on HB 6854, Representative Gilchrist, Senator Lesser, Senator Seminara,
Sadly, yes.
Representative Case,
Yes.
Senator Gaston,
No.
Representative Dathan,
No.
Senator Marr,
No.
Representative Butler, Representative Cook, Representative Exum, Representative Fortier,
Representative Fortier votes no.
Representative Hughes,
Representative Hughes votes no.
Representative Johnson, Representative Kit,
Representative Kit votes no.
Representative Leeper,
Representative Leeper votes no.
Representative Santiago,
Santiago votes no.
Representative Buckby,
Yes.
Representative Ferraro,
Yes.
Representative Mastro Francesco,
Representative Mastro Francesco votes yes.
Representative Pizzuto,
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Paletta,
Rep. Paletta votes yes.
Representative Butler, Representative Cook, Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes no.
Representative Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Voting 21, the yeas are 7, nays 11, absent not voting 3.
Thank you. The amendment fails. Is there additional discussion on the bill? Yes, Senator Seminara.
s- I'm very disheartened at the outcome of this. And I see that it was originally supposed to be JFS to finance. So I'm suggesting that we JFS it to finance. Change of reference at this point.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Was that a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to JFS this to finance.
And it's a motion made by Senator Seminara to modify the motion to JFS this to the floor to finance. Motion by Senator Seminara, second by Representative Case. I would just say that in conversations with the proponents of the bill, and I just want to remind, we've spoken only about the provisions about grocery stores. There's a whole other part of the bill, and I want to give a shout out to our distinguished Vice Chair, Senator Gaston, and a coalition he's been working with, including Senator Moore and Representative Boer and many others, Representative Michelle, about the food access advocate portion. And so when we were looking only at the grocery store portion, we were inclined to send it to finance. But working with that coalition, they believe the best course of action is as a referral to the floor to give them some additional time to work on that language. And so with due deference to that coalition and the strong work they're doing, I would ask that we continue to just refer this to the floor and would respectfully reject the amendment. Is there additional discussion?
My understanding is that this obviously includes tax incentives. So shouldn't it be going to finance at that point?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I would just say this bill has tax incentives. It also has appropriations in it as well. So it'll, as the language is before us, it'll have to go to finance and probably also go to appropriations, perhaps other places as well. It's got a long road ahead of it, but working with the proponents of the bill, we listen to them, and it's their judgment that the best place for it at the moment would be the floor, and then it will be referred from the floor, likely to one or both of the finance of the money committees. Yes, Representative Buckby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to certainly acknowledge your comments as well, and thank Senator Gaston and Senator Moore and those who put all this work into it. I think there's a lot of great pieces of this bill that are certainly 100% to support. The concern that we see a lot of times in this building is a bill that has many parts to it, of which there's 5 good parts and 2 that we may not agree with, that we'd like to work collectively on. And I think that last piece we discussed, the grocery store piece, makes that very difficult to try to support, as each community is so drastically different within the state. I think it tends to take out certain communities and be more inclusive in others. So I think it does, in so many ways, pick winners and losers to who has a chance to do things. So while I think that there's a lot of this bill that's really good and I'd really like to support, the one that handcuffs it makes it a bill that I can't support. And that's the devastating part of this building sometimes, right? That we all hit those roadblocks where we say, geez, I really want to support this, but there's a piece of it that doesn't make sense. And we offered a solution to try to make it so we all could support it. So I agree with my good colleague next to me as well. I like so many parts of the concept, and a no vote for me doesn't mean I disagree with some of those concepts. It certainly is disheartening to see us not be able to work collectively for a friendly amendment to try to fix that. But I think that fix would have made it 100% across the board. And I think at this point, unfortunately, I'm going to have to be a no, but do want to commend the good senator and his colleagues for the work they've done on this and support that piece of it certainly going forward. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Buckby. And I just want to remind folks, we're actually discussing the motion made by Representative Case at this point. Yeah. Senator Seminar, I apologize. Okay. Senator, did I call you representative? Okay.
No, you said
Yeah.
Representative Case.
Okay. I will screw up every title I can today, I think. Is there other discussion on this bill? Representative King? This amendment.
Yeah, when that motion moves forward, that it's done by roll. And I just like to say, on Tuesday, the agenda here is to move it to finance. As the ranking, I didn't know until I got the agenda yesterday that it was going to be moved to the floor. There was an agreement that we would move this to finance because it has a tax incentive. And I'll tell you, Senator Gass, I totally agree with this bill. It's going to box out my community. Am I happy about that? No. Am I excited about the initiative that we want to put forward? Absolutely. But we want those small stores to be able to have a chance at the apple too. And with that, I'd like to move this motion forward for a vote, and then we can talk further. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Other discussion from members of the committee? If not, the clerk will please call the roll on amendment number 2.
HB 6854, motion to amend motion to JFS to the floor to JFS to finance. Representative Gilchrist.
No.
Senator Lesser.
No.
Senator Seminara.
Yes.
Representative Case.
Yes.
Senator Gaston.
No.
Representative Dathan. Senator Marr.
Senator Marr votes no.
Representative Butler. Representative Cook. Representative Exum.
Representative Exum votes no.
Representative Fortier.
Representative Fortier votes no.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes no.
Representative Johnson.
Representative Johnson votes no.
Representative Kit.
Representative Kit votes no.
Representative Leeper.
Representative Leeper votes no.
Representative Santiago.
Santiago votes no.
Representative Buckby.
Yes.
Representative Ferraro.
Yes.
Representative Mastro Francesco.
Mastro Francesco votes yes.
Representative Pizzuto.
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Paletta.
Paletta votes yes.
Representative Butler. Representative Cook. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, will you please announce the tally?
Can I just?
The vote tally is 21 voting. The yeas are 12, nays are 7, absent and not voting 2.
Madam Clerk, would you take another look at
I'm
that?
sorry. Oopsies. Again, it's been a long week, guys, okay?
I think she read it just fine.
It's been a long
I have
week.
question. Who's running this joint?
It's been a long week. 21 voting. The yeas are 12, nays are 7, absent and not voting
No,
2.
Madam Clerk,
Oh,
would you
I'm
take
sorry.
one more look at that number?
Again. All right, here we go again. Third time's the charm. Voting 21, the yeas are 7, nays are 12, absent and not voting 2. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That sounds right. The motion fails. Senator Seminar.
Thank you for indulging me yet one more time. I just wanted to be clear to Senator Gaston and all those who have worked so diligently to put this together. please don't misconstrue my no. This will really is very detrimental to my district and the people in my district. I have a very diverse district, but I do have a significant number in the northwest corner, and by not allowing smaller mom and pop stores to partake in this, it really directly affects my people. And the other thing that was brought up, but I feel the need to reiterate, I know we're looking at it, I know we're working on it, but the transportation up in the northwest corner is non-existent. So to get to a grocery store like this would really probably end up costing them a significant amount of money to try to take advantage of this. So I just wanted to make you aware that I wholeheartedly supported this piece of legislation going forth prior to the changes that were made. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Other discussion from members of the committee? Yes, Representative Bucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Bucky, I apologize. That was didn't want to cut out any part of your name.
The good chairs have a tough time with my name. I don't know what it is. I just wanted to add one more piece, two more quick things. Number one, my comments earlier were really, while they're on the underlying bill, kind of why I wanted to have that piece go forward, because we want to make sure legislation goes through properly through all the right channels it's supposed to. And number two, our wonderful clerk didn't have this concern until you made her a representative. That's all. That's the only time we saw the problem. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, the clerk will please call the roll.
Item number 3 on the agenda, HB 6854, an act establishing the Office of the Food Access Advocate and tax incentives for grocery stores in food deserts. Motion to JFS to the floor, LCO number 6303. Representative Gilchrist.
Yes.
Senator Lesser.
Yes.
Senator Seminara.
No.
Representative Case.
Regrettably, no.
Senator Gaston.
Yes.
Representative Dathan. Senator Marr.
Senator Marr votes yes.
Representative Butler. Representative Cook. Representative Exum.
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Fortier.
Representative Fortier votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Representative Johnson.
Representative Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kit.
Representative Kitt votes yes.
Representative Leeper.
Representative Leeper votes yes.
Representative Santiago.
Santiago votes yes.
Representative Buckby.
Sadly, no.
Representative Ferraro.
A very difficult no.
Representative Mastro Francesco.
Master Francesco votes no.
Representative Pizzuto.
Representative Pizzuto votes no.
Representative Paletta.
Paletta votes no.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Just a reminder, we are holding the votes open. Okay, we are moving on to the last item under Roman numeral number 3. Number 4, House Bill 6856, an act concerning the 211 info line system. I'll entertain a motion to JFS this to the floor.
Seconded.
Motion by Representative Case, second by Representative Hughes. Is there there is going to be discussion. I will just say by point of reference that the S language designates the S language requires the Office of Policy and Management to designate a staff person within the agency to coordinate the 211 contracts across various agencies, and also going forward require that there be funding in place and contractual terms to ensure that the 211 system operates 24/7, 7 days a week to provide support and referrals to persons using the system. And we'll say that we've heard specifically with regards to some of the Department of Housing contracts that is a particular area of concern that is obviously a little bit outside of the scope of this committee. But one of the things we've been surprised by is the sheer number of contracts between the state and the 211 system, and coordinating that is something that we're hoping to address. Representative Case, where you have your hand up.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we had a long discussion on this and totally agree. we put 211 in place to try to help everybody. And as we've had discussions, working with the increase of homelessness, working with the shelters as I do, working with all the issues that we have, it was very hard this year to understand that 211 was limiting availability. And it was, from what we heard, it was because of the amount of calls coming in and staffing. By putting somebody to oversee, I think we'll see that, because the staffing hasn't changed, but they said they were looking for possibly 1.3 million more. I think Senator Lesser, we had asked those questions, and that's the dollar that they were asking for. And it concerns me that we need that much more dollars when we have the same staffing. But I'll tell you, to cut services off for a program that we put forward, that everybody knows 211 is the number to call. And when you can't call that number after 5 o'clock or on the weekends for a crisis situation for homeless, that's the problem that arose this past winter. 211 was still taking calls, but it's a crisis center for somebody who didn't have a place to lay their head on a pillow. That hit hard. We're here in Human Services to look after people, to make sure that they have the services. We have to make sure that these agencies that we have out there, if they don't have the funding, or if something went wrong, that they still have the same funding as they did in November when they changed the hours. What went wrong at the agency? What went wrong that we don't have those phones answered for all the programs that they were answering for in November? Working on a board of a cold weather shelter, when we filled up at 39, there were still people waiting at the door. What's the thing you do? You have to call 911 instead of 211. And then they have to figure out where they go. Or you call crisis. So I agree with this. I'd like to move it forward. And like I said, when we put something together, we need to make sure somebody is answering our questions. And I see at JFS, it's going to the floor. I'm not sure if this needs to go to approps first, but if that's your opinion to go to the floor, we'll do that. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank you, Representative, and certainly funding for 211 will be an ongoing conversation in appropriations, regardless of where this. And we will certainly have the conversations going forward with the Appropriations Committee about funding, and they, the United Way will point to a loss of federal funding that they've experienced as an issue. We'll get to the bottom of it, and we'll try to address that. Additional discussion from members of the committee. Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple quick questions for clarification. I think if I heard Representative Case say that there was conversations going that the program needed an additional funding of $1.3 million. Is that somewhat accurate, or we don't really know?
Representative, we don't know at this point. I know that there's been an ask by the United Way for additional funding. Whether or not that's the correct number is, I think, premature. This bill does not provide additional funding.
Thank you. And I'm through you. I'm just curious. Do we know what the current funding is? That how much we fund them right now?
Representative, we did get some testimony to that effect, but one of the challenges and one of the things we're trying to address is the fact that there's been a lot of different contracting across state agencies, and there isn't a central point person on the state side. There is through the United Way, but that, because each agency has been doing things differently, I think the closest thing to a master contract right now is from the Department of Social Services, but there is no central coordinator. Getting the most accurate, most up-to-date information has been a little bit of a challenge, at least from the state side of things, Representative.
Okay, thank you for that. And just one other question. During testimony, I know DSS sent in testimony, and now we are shifting that responsibility to OPM. And DSS did have concerns. Obviously, the program is supported, but because of the term allocate sufficient funding, we haven't had an opportunity to get testimony from OPM. Has there been conversations with them at all on whether they can handle this? Here we go.
Well, we will find out, Representative, but I think the idea, we were originally talking about having DSS do that, but sort of on reflection, it doesn't, DSS has a lot of work on their own right now, and having them also supervise other state agencies might be a little bit of a challenge. And so we thought that because of the OPM's budget role, that was a better place handled within that agency, and they should be doing this work already, to be honest, Representative.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to acknowledge that this was a priority of our friend Q's for this session. So in his honor, I am proud to vote yes.
Thank you, Representative. Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, the clerk will please call the roll.
Item number 4 on the agenda, HB 6856, an act concerning the 211 info line system. Motion to JFS to the floor. LCO number 6308. Representative Gilchrist.
Yes.
Senator Lesser.
Yes.
Senator Seminara.
Yes.
Representative Case.
Yes.
Senator Gaston.
Yes.
Representative Dathan.
Yes.
Senator Mar.
Senator Mar votes yes.
Representative Butler. Representative Cook. Representative Exum.
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Fortier.
Representative Fortier votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Representative Johnson.
Representative Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kit.
Representative Kit votes yes.
Representative Leeper.
Representative Leeper votes yes.
Representative Santiago. Representative Buckby.
Yes.
Representative Ferraro.
Yes.
Representative Mastro Francesco.
Master Francesco votes yes.
Representative Pizzuto.
Representative Pizzuto votes yes.
Representative Paletta.
Rep. Paletta votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, I would ask that you hold the votes open until 2 p.m. And would you like that in the Human Services Committee?
Yes, room 2000.
So the votes will be held open on room 2000 until 2 p.m. and also on Zoom. And at this point, that concludes the list of items to take final action on. We will be in on Tuesday at 10 a.m. in room 2A and also on Zoom. And there will be a couple items, more than a couple items on the agenda for Tuesday. So I plan to be here for a while. And we look forward to seeing everybody then and hope you have a wonderful weekend. And with that, I will recess the Human Services Committee until 2 p.m.
Hi, Rep. Leeper.
Hey, Chandra, thank you
Can
so
you
much.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So item number 1 on the agenda, HB 6626, not concerning long-term care. That's a JFS to approves LCO number 5310. How do you vote?
Representative Leeper votes yes.
Thank you so much. You're all
Thank-
set.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Hello, Representative. We are missing a couple votes from you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm just turning up the sound now. Okay, I can hear you.
Great. All right. So we have item number 3 on the agenda, an act establishing the Office of the Food Access Advocate and tax incentives for grocery stores in food deserts. There were a couple amendments, but the votes are closed on that. Essentially it went back, the amendment to JFS to finance, it went back to JFS to the floor. So that would be LCO number 6303. How do you vote on that?
Representative Butler votes yes.
Thank you. And then last but not least, there's item number 4 on the agenda, an act concerning the 211 info line system. That would be a JFS to the floor, LCO number 6308. How do you vote on that?
Representative Butler votes yes.
Wonderful. I think, let me just double check before you go that I have everything else from you. I think you did vote on the first 2. Yeah,
I did.
Yep, you're all set. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Did I miss anything fun?
Couple amendments maybe, but we have 4 bills on the agenda and I'll read them to you. Give me 1 second.
Perfect. Thank
Okay. All right, item number 1 on the agenda, HB 6626, an act concerning long-term care. That would be a JFS to approach, LCO number 5310. Do you vote?
Cook votes yes.
Next.
Can you-
I'm
can
sorry,
you
say it again?
Okay.
Okay, yes, I got it. Next on the agenda is HB 6630, an act increasing Husky C asset and income limits. That would be a JF2 approach. How do you vote on that?
Cook votes yes.
Thank you. Next is HB 6854. That would be a JFS to the floor. This is an act establishing the Office of Food Access Advocate and tax incentives for grocery stores and food deserts, LCO number 6303. This is where a couple amendments were introduced, but I had to call the vote on those, so those aren't open, but the action is JFS to the floor.
So it's JFS to the floor with no amendments, both amendments or
Both
whatever?
amendments failed, correct.
Okay, Cook votes yes.
Thank you. And then last but not least is HB 6856, and that concerning the 211 inflow line system. That would be a JFS to the floor, LCO number 6308.
Yes, Cook votes yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. You are all set just for 4 bills.
When are we back? Did they make an announcement?
Yes, next Tuesday at 10 in room 2A in Via Zoom. And I will send out an email later today with the calendar invite.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Hannah. I hope to see you next week.
Yes, take care.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Sorry. So we're just missing one vote from you. It's item number 4 on the agenda, HB 6856, an act concerning the 211 info line system. This would be a JFS to the floor, LCO number 6308. How do you vote?
Santiago votes yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's all that we need from you.
Thank you.